Hey there guys, Mike here. Mike's DVDs and Blu-rays collection is back with a Halloween 2023 wrap-up. This is part 2 of all the horror movies that I watched during the month of October in celebration of scary movies. And let's get right into it because I got quite a few more. I was really surprised at how many horror movies I actually got through this month. This might be the biggest Halloween watch that I've done since doing YouTube videos and stuff. So anyways, I know there's a 4K Shout Factory release of this. I mean, there's even a really cool is it Arrow? Or not Arrow, I guess there's a really nice Shout Factory Blu-ray release of this, and then there's the 4K that's come out in recent years. But I'm going back to the old snapper case. That's right guys, early 90s, I mean late 90s, early 2000s. George Romero's Creepshow. Love this movie, grew up on this movie. This was one of my favorite horror movies as a kid. Just love this movie. So creepy. I mean, it was so creepy as a kid. The one that always gets me is the guy that's got all the roaches coming out of his mouth. I mean, that was just so, like, oh my god, as a kid. I loved it. But yeah, I put this one in to give it a spin. I know everyone's putting in the shiny 4K edition. It's like, that's cool. I'm going to get it eventually, but it's like, I have it now and I can just watch it, you know, big deal. Because this is the way I remember it looking anyways, kind of grainy, kind of not all, you know, but really cool. This movie, you know, has aged. I mean, it's aged pretty well. I mean, it's basically an anthology movie, directed by George Romero. It's got Leslie Nielsen, it's got Hal Holbrook, the beautiful Adrienne Barbeau, E.G. Marshall is the guy with the roaches in his mouth. Based on original screenplay by Stephen King, and he's in one of the episodes and everything. But yeah, Creepshow, great movie, great 80s horror movie. Now this was a trilogy. I wanted to upgrade. I found this really cheap on eBay. Now I've had the DVD of the first one forever, and that one I would say is my favorite of this trilogy, or I think there might have been 4 movies altogether. But 1998, 99, this came out, directed by Stephen Sommers, the Mummy Trilogy. Mainly the first one, and I put the first one in, and I don't know, it was kind of cheesy. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It was too much mixture of comedy and stuff in there. Some of the effects are that early, you know, or that 90s CGI, you know, a lot of mummies jumping out at the screen and growling and stuff like that, which, you know, we got kind of used to that back then. Movies did a lot of that. That was the jump scare, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's good. It's good. It is my favorite of them. I mean, Brandon Fraser is perfect in the role. He's really good. Rachel Weisz is just, she's great, beautiful. But this one has the Mummy Returns and the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor and everything. And then there was the 4th one, I think, the Scorpion King, that had The Rock in it and stuff though. But yeah, I had to upgrade on Blu-ray to watch that, and I'll watch it again. I think the night I watched it, it was just like I was wanting something just seriously scary, just a serious movie. And it had that mixture of lightheartedness in it that just kind of, I wasn't in the mood for that. But anyways, the Mummy Trilogy. This was got this out. This is a sci-fi movie. I kind of wanted to mix some of the great 1950s sci-fi movies in with this. Unfortunately, I didn't watch a lot of them, but this is one that I really enjoyed. This is a beautiful Criterion Blu-ray release. It's based on a newer restoration. It had to come out on 4K also in recent, I think in the past year or so. But I still have the good old Criterion edition of War of the Worlds. Now this one goes back. This is a very important movie in my discovery of classic movies back in the late 80s. discovering them and really getting into them and watching them and stuff. I mean, if it wasn't for the TNT channel, the Turner Network television channel, I would have never been into like foreign movies, classic movies, all the classic comedians like the Marx Brothers and stuff. Discovered them. It was very important for my education as a film nut. But The War of the Worlds from 1953, great, beautiful Technicolor sci-fi movie. I mean, it is absolutely stunning the way it looks. The packaging is really, really nice on here. It's got some really cool special features, by the way, too. But The War of the Worlds, a very important movie to me. One of my great ones. Now, and this is another great one. This is a great release, by the way. Also, it's got beautiful new artwork on the case. Apparently, J.J. Abrams and his company Bad Robot was a big fan of the movie and wanted to kind of go back and clean it up and restore it and get it really sharp. And they succeeded. It looks great. 1979's Phantasm. That's right. With the always scary Angus Scrimm, which I always thought, is that really his name, Scrimm? Because you could change the letters slightly and it'd be Scream, But yeah, very, very cool. There's actually a special feature on here where he's on a TV show and they're interviewing him. And he is like a Shakespearean actor. Very, very prim and proper and very well spoken and everything. And you wouldn't think that he would be doing a horror movie. But very iconic, this series of movies that went through the 80s and in the 90s. And then it was rebooted again with, I think, Ravager. But really, really good. I just really love this movie. It just kind of starts and it just goes. They don't try to stop and explain a lot of backstory. They're just in the midst of discovering all of this. And you discover stuff as the characters do and stuff. And it really just doesn't stop for a minute. And it's just really creepy. It's got a lot of atmosphere. It's not a big budget movie. Very, very good. But this is it says Phantasm Remastered. But basically it's a cleanup. It's got a new 5.1 surround mix, but you can also listen to the original mono, which that's what I did. But yeah, Phantasm, great movie. Phantasm is fantastic. Next up, this was a movie I'd never owned. I hadn't seen it for a very long time, but I'm a pretty big fan of the 1985 Night of the Living Dead. No, what night? Night of the Living... No, Return of the Living Dead. But this is Return of the Living Dead Part 2, which is equally pretty good. It's kind of underrated slightly. It doesn't get talked as much as the Part 1 and everything. But it's got a couple of characters returned from the first movie, and it's just a lot of fun. It really is. It's just a lot of fun. I think we have a different director this time, but still... it's got James Cameron, Tom Matthews, they returned from the first one. Really good movie. I think it's just underrated really badly. But I remember this artwork so well from the 80s. This box in rental stores, even in magazines and stuff. I just really remember this artwork so vividly. But yeah, that's a good one. And, this is one of the best Blu-ray releases I would say ever released. I mean, even if you're remotely into horror or especially 80s movies, you gotta have this one in here. Now this is the Eureka Masters of Cinema. Actually, it's an all-region release of 1985's Fright Night. I love this movie in the 80s. This was one of those ones you just always watched and stuff. And what really makes this release so good is all the extra bonus features on here. It's got like an hour and 40-minute documentary about it that has almost all the crew and actors come back to talk about it. It's really, really cool. And in watching that documentary, you basically watch the movie, because they basically show the whole movie in it and everything. So really cool. This is a great release by Eureka. and stuff. So Fright Night, just great movie. One of those rental store movies, for sure. HBO. It was great to be a kid back then. I mean, you had limited stuff. You know, you could go to the rental store and rent a movie, or if you were lucky enough to have HBO or Cinemax or something like that, and you could maybe catch them, but they weren't right on there like now. You got HBO Max and stuff premieres on there. You know, it wasn't like that then. You had to wait about a year or so before it would show up on cable. But anyways, and this next one is a first time watch. I've heard so much about this movie over the years, and recently this was released in a really nice 4K release. But this is the 30th anniversary edition from Blue Underground, and I'm kind of a semi big fan of the actor in this, Joe Spinell. I mean, he was basically a character actor in the 70s. He was in The Godfather. He was in some Charles Bronson movies. He was in a lot of good movies, matter of fact. And this one is from like 1980. And it's one of those great early slasher movies from the 80s, Maniac. And it's really weird, Joe Spinell. And the way the story goes, you know, he starts committing these crimes, these murders. And the only connection to the real world that's like reporting this is the newspapers. Like he would see the newspaper headline or something, or there might have been some scenes where it was on TV or something. But during the whole movie, you don't see like, you know, the police detective and they're searching for him and they're, you know, stuff like that. It's like that whole element is kind of left out. It's basically, it kind of comes from the point of view of his world and what he sees and stuff. So, you know, he's in this twisted, crazy world and everything. And it's really interesting, actually. It's got that, like, you know, this guy is psychotic, you know, but what makes him tick? You know, why is he doing this and stuff? And it's very interesting in a way. This could almost be kind of paired up with, say, Peeping Tom to a certain degree, and everything. But great slasher movie. Very, very weird, bizarre. The biggest bizarreness is Joe Spinell stars in it. I don't know, it's just strange for some reason. He just doesn't seem like the leading actor. But I'm glad they went that way with him, because he was, you know, very underrated as an actor. And it was really cool that he got to star in that. They put him in it and everything. So really cool, Maniac. Next up, this is another bona fide classic horror movie that I grew up on watching. Scared the crap out of me. The scenes. This is a movie directed by Tobe Hooper. I believe it originally was basically like a 2-night TV series on CBS or something like that. I believe it's kind of sketchy. It doesn't look like a TV movie. I don't think so. But I'm talking about Salem's Lot. This came out in like 1979. Really cool. It's got James Mason in it. The vampire, also known as Mr. Barlow. Very creepy. Kind of a throwback to the Max Schreck as Nosferatu back in 1922. He's kind of got similar makeup, but he's definitely scary. The parts with the kids who get bit and come back as vampires, you know, hovering around the windows, which could be looked at as kind of a cheap special effect, but man, it always gets me. It always seems to get me. Really good movie. Salem's Lot, of course, is based on Stephen King's book. There was Return to Salem's Lot in 1987, which a lot of people dismiss, but I've seen that one is equally as much too. It's got Sam Fuller in it and stuff like that, but more of a comedic angle, kind of almost like The Howling, where there's this secret town of vampires instead of wolves, you know. So anyway, Salem's Lot, really cool awesomeness. I wanted to watch some off the path, beaten path of Bela Lugosi movies. You know, of course we got the Draculas, we got the but I wanted to watch a few movies that he's very good in, like this Kino release of White Zombie from 1932. Very iconic character makeup, Bela Lugosi in this movie. This was kind of considered done by kind of an independent producer-director team back then, and this was probably their biggest movie, but they were kind of like schlock directors in a way, but this was a really big standout for them. They really did a great thing. Yeah, the Halpin brothers, directed by Victor and produced by Edward Halpin, and really cool. This is a 67-minute movie set in like Haiti, with dealing with voodoo and stuff like that. Really cool. Very early voodoo movie, zombie movie, and everything. Very good. Very iconic. Tons of atmosphere. This release also has a cleaned up, like restored version. It also has something they call a raw version, which is basically not cleaned up. You got a lot of, you got a lot of dust and, stuff on the film and everything. This time when I watched it this month, I watched the raw version, which was pretty cool. So yeah, White Zombie. And next up, this is this also goes with the Edgar Allan Poe movies. These are some of the movies that Universal did, loosely based on Edgar Allan Poe movies. They did in the early 30s, starring Bela Lugosi. A couple of these has Boris in it. But yeah, this is the Eureka Masters of Cinema release of Murders in the Rue Morgue, The Black Cat, and The Raven. The Black Cat is one of my favorite Universal horror movies that's not, a monster movie. That's one of their other really good horror movies they did, with Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi. And really, just a really oddball good movie. Edgar Ulmer directed it. Murders in the Rue Morgue has there's like an Easter egg on here. I think there's a different version of it. And then there's like a restored version or something on this. And of course, The Raven is kind of it's not exactly The Raven by Poe, but he plays this doctor who's obsessed with Poe and the Raven to be, in particular and everything. So he's always reciting the Raven and all that good stuff. But it's really cool. Bela Lugosi is just off the chain, and he has some really quotable lines and stuff like that in this movie. But this is a great release for sure. It's Region B, but man, I just love the artwork. The cover alone, and then you open it up and you can put different film posters as your case one, and it's got a lot of extras. Really cool. Next up, again, this was another one recently released on 4K, and it was a big to-do. It was selling out. It was just really popular. But Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. And I have to admit, this is one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. It really is. It seems like it was a popular movie when it came out, but when people talk about Tim Burton, they don't always talk about Sleepy Hollow. This is one of the many team-ups with Johnny Depp in it and everything. It's really good. It's got so much atmosphere, and it's just a lot of fun. Really great. Nice and dark, and just the way you want it. Just the way Tim Burton can really deliver that atmosphere and stuff. So Sleepy Hollow, this is just a regular Blu-ray edition of it. This was another movie slightly recommended by, well, not recommended, but he did kind of a video of this on his channel. Talking about Leslie, his channel, The Good, The Bad, and The Okay channel. He did kind of a breakdown of this movie. He didn't really enjoy it, but I watched it, thought it was okay. The movie is called Dead Birds. And this is kind of like a horror zombie possession type movie set in the Old West days. Which, it's got, I love Western movies, and it's such a crazy mashup and stuff. But it's, it's not the best movie, but it is slightly, it's entertaining, and it's just the concept is pretty weird and keeps you kind of tuned into it. So yeah, Dead Birds. I think this is a movie that came out in like 2004. Next up, I had to mix it up again with a little bit of Vincent Price. This is him at 20th Century Fox. The famous first version of The Fly. And I really love the Technicolor in this movie. It's really a beautiful movie. The greens and stuff, the laboratory settings, and just really great to look at. It's just really, really well made that way. And pretty iconic. I mean, this is one of the roles that Vincent Price gets, you know, mentioned a lot about, The Fly. And then there was a Fly 2, and I think Arrow, or was it Arrow? One of those companies, God, what was it? Shout? Maybe it was Shout Factory, put out a box set of all the Fly movies, even the David Cronenberg 1986 remake, which is, you know, obviously it's superior in its own way compared to this, but for a 1950s Technicolor type movie, this is really awesome, really cool. The Fly. And this is a movie that I've been off and on for many years. I went to the theater and saw it. It has a great opening, a tribute to the old Universal monster movies. It's shot in black and white, and it switches the color. This is directed by Stephen Sommers, who did The Mummy. He's a big Universal Monsters fan. But this is a movie called Van Helsing, and this is the 4K version I picked up used. It's got the Blu-ray and the 4K. Hugh Jackman is Van Helsing. Kate Beckinsale is in it to help him. Saw it at the movies and liked it. I didn't love it. I loved that first part of it. And then I had it on video and watched it, and I was just like, they mess with this whole, the whole thing of the Universal monsters and stuff. And I was like, and then I got rid of it. And then I got the movie back again, like on Blu-ray or something. And then I got rid of it again because I got mad at the movie again, or just got irritated with something about it. But this time I bought it again on 4K and the Blu-ray, but I'm going to keep it this time. And if I change my mind, I'm not going to get rid of it, because I'll probably come back to it. So it's a movie on a 5-star scale. I would give 2.5 to 3, probably 3 stars. But very well made. Got a lot of special effects and stuff like that. But for fans of the Universal movies, I think you'll really enjoy it, especially the first part of it. It's really cool. So Van Helsing. Coming up around the end of some of these. Next up, I showed this during my Vestron video collection one. 1987's The Gate. A great movie I watched a lot as a kid. It was on HBO a lot. Love this. 2 kids find a hole in the backyard, and it's the gateway to hell, and shenanigans ensue. So really good movie. Me and my sister loved watching this, The Gate. And finally, guys, this is a movie that there's multiple DVD editions of this. I think it's on Blu-ray, but it's either out of print and it's very expensive, or there's some gray market releases of it on Blu-ray. I'm not really sure. So I just kind of threw a dart and took a stab at one of them. What's weird about this doesn't even have a name of the company on this. But it looked good. I'm talking about 1987's Near Dark. A great vampire tale set in the desert. There's this band of vampires. They're like a small group, almost like a family. They stay together. They do all their feeding at night and during the day, And it's really made really cool and very iconic for the 80s. Wearing sunglasses to kind of keep the sun away a little bit. Very, very cool movie. Near Dark. It's a Catherine Bigelow movie. She would go on, to win an Oscar and stuff for The Hurt Locker later on. It's got Adrian Pasdar, Jenny Wright, Lance Hendrickson, and the great Bill Paxton is in this. He's really good in this. But yeah, this is a bona fide cult classic from the 80s. I put this right up with like The Hitcher and stuff as those movies that you always saw on TV and loved it. HBO was just the place to, as a kid. When you're 10 or 11 and you had HBO back then, you would just watch the shit out of some of that stuff. But yeah, Near Dark, a very good kind of a retelling of the vampire character and and everything is really, really cool. Near Dark. So there you go, guys. There's some more of the Halloween movies. This is part 2 of some of the movies I watched during the month of October 2023. But it didn't stop there, guys. I did watch some other stuff. I'm going to have my own video on the Hammer movies I watched this Halloween. And that's going to be in the next video. It's not going to really be a part 3 or anything. It's just the Hammer videos. But those were kind of the mixture of all the different stuff I watched and stuff. So watched a lot. I was really surprised about how many movies I got to really watch. And still had time to be a human and do other things. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, comment, let me know what your favorite horror movie was out of that group and everything. If you got any little tidbits, I'd love to hear about it. Check out my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you guys again with more movies.